The leadership of the Joint Drivers Welfare Association of Nigeria has reiterated the commitment of its members to embarking on a 7-day boycott of Lagos roads beginning from Monday, October 31st, 2022, over the alleged extortion by the Motor Parks and Garages Management in the state. Now, the JDWAN, noting that they've met with the Lagos State government representatives, including the Permanent Secretary, Lagos Ministry of Transportation, Abdullah Fiz Toriola, and the Motor Park Management Liaison Officer, AIG Akim Odumoso, retired, in the company of its legal advisor, Ayo Ademilui, on Friday. There have not been concrete responses to their demands. Now, joining us to discuss this and more, especially the effects on motorists and commuters in Lagos State, is Aigboje Ikwerre, our correspondent. Good morning.
Good morning, Aigboje. How are you today? Your face is shining, thank you.
It's good having you here as against the streets.
Right.
But you're coming from the streets.
Of course, we went out very early this morning to look at what the street is looking like and what motorists and commuters are facing this morning. Having the fact that during the weekend we saw this press statement issued by the joint JDWAN and all that, you know, these have been issues on the front burner as far as transportation sector and system is concerned in Lagos State. You know, the transport sector in Lagos State is quite different from some other states because of the population that you have in Lagos, especially when you want to look at over 20 million people in one city and all that. You need an effective transportation system to ensure that you sustain the effectiveness of manpower as it relates to businesses and what have you.
But how effective is this boycott? You know, this morning while coming to work, I saw some pockets of traffic, unusual traffic in some places while coming to work, and I'm wondering, if the vehicles are fewer, there should be lesser traffic, isn't it?
Where the areas where we monitor as far as very early this morning, around 6:30 to 7 o'clock, we're already on the street in the Alimosho area, where we moved from that side towards en route Iyanukbaja to Agege and all that. You could see pockets of activities of commercial bus drivers still trying to probably take their time to do one or two businesses and all that, moving passengers from one location to the other. It's not that effective, like total compliance is not there, because you could still see the yellow buses on the road, especially in the area where you have the adjoining roads to the express. Now they are using the advantage of the fact that probably because there are no enforcement, probably by the association themselves, to ensure that the drivers are complying totally 100% with the decision of the association. Of course, you know that this thing have been over time, where we'll see before the ban on the National Association, the NURTW, you know, there was this conflict between drivers and NURTW and all that. This association thing, and the Lagos State government, in its wisdom, decided to say, okay, let's create another body, which is the Motor Park Management body and all that, which MC Oluomo is the chairman of that particular committee. And with the ripple effect of what we're saying, the complaints that they are actually giving, if you look at it critically, they are germane, you know, and all this has ripple effect of what we are seeing in the state, where the prices of goods and services are going up on a daily basis. There's hike in food prices, there's hike in cost of transportation, there's hike in everything, because the driver will tell you, I left my house this morning, I've paid over 1,200, and as I'm going out, I keep paying and pay. You have situations where drivers are telling you that they even pay as far as what they call chop money for chairman. They will pay morning, they will pay for lunch, they will pay for dinner. Do you get all this? And all of this, they are outrageous. And if you look at it critically, I think the Lagos State government should begin to look at the area of what have other states done to curb all these excesses of the street boys coming to make or coming to issue
you know,
extort and
Lagos
tax
is a very
commercial
peculiar
drivers.
state, as you mentioned earlier. But you mentioned that you expected some form of enforcement by this JDWAN association. What kind of enforcement were you expecting, and what impact has this, you know, you said some people have complied. What impact has it had on bus fares?
Yes, of course, you know, if you have a strike of this nature, that means it's going to lead to a reduction of commercial bus activities on the roads. It means that you have more commuters running after a few vehicles on the road. Of course, you will be expecting inflation in terms of pricing. Of course, if you have, if you are going from maybe the Pomu roundabout through Yanukbaja to Agege and all of that, if peradventure what you were spending as transport fare was like 1,000 naira, you'll be looking at almost 2,000 naira, because the hike is over 50%. Okay. Now,
I remember it was already hiked because of the fuel scarcity.
The fuel scarcity now coupled with what we have on the ground. And this is biting hard on residents. This is biting hard on Lagosians. And the effect you begin to see from days by or days coming, it's going to be so massive to the extent that you see some people don't want to go to work again. And you know what that means in terms of economic wise. Yeah.
I mean, sorry, something. You've not talked about the kind of enforcement you expect.
Yeah, talking about enforcement, it's an association. An association should have probably, of course, executives, and part of the executive, they usually have what they call enforcement committees that move from park to ensure that some of these bus drivers comply with the activities. Like you have it in the labor, where if the labor union is given a mandate for a strike or industrial action, they go from office to office to ensure that workers are complying with it and all that. But you know, this at this point, especially because it's election period, you know, some people will actually sabotage the process, and I don't see them achieving what they want to achieve with this, because of course those who are on the other side of it will not want to give it a chance, because this again will tell in the outcome of the February elections if care is not taken.
Okay, talking about, you know, the crux of this issue, it's about extortion. Don't you think it's time the Lagos State government as well wades in terms of probably putting a uniform price to it? We know quite well that earlier this year they came up with, you know, a ticket pegged at 800 naira for, you know, the buses. But what we saw, you know, before the suspension of the NURTW for Lagos State was that apart from that 800 naira for, you know, the drivers by the state government, NURTW still had its own levies that the drivers had to pay. And you've said, and it's what some of us have seen over time, that virtually at every bus stop, once these drivers get there, they still have to pay probably 1,500 naira to some representatives of the union. So this issue of extortion, which is the premise upon which this, you know, borders on, don't you think the government has to step in at some point and say, okay, maybe we place a, you know, flat rate of maybe 1,000 naira every day as tickets, and that's just about it?
Yes, of course, Samsi. You see, what I think Lagos State government should be doing right now is to study other states that have achieved 100% of extinguishing touting from collection of levies from commercial bus drivers, especially in the area of revenue or levies that are supposed to be for the union or affiliate union bodies in terms of transportation. For instance, if you go to Anambra State, you don't have all this again. If you go to Edo State, you don't have all this
again. Even Oyo State.
If you go to Oyo State, you don't. Now, what they did was to house all of the levies together and come up with a ticket or a card, which the commercial drivers on a daily basis will just go, you buy, and the program, it is computerized. The program is a way that once you buy the card, you log in the card and you hold the card with you. Then it is assumed that you have paid, or is noted that you have paid for that day, all your taxes for that day. And while you're driving, the only thing they now do or they did was to put tax enforcers on the road. Now, when they stop a driver, a commercial driver, what they do is that they ask for that card. And they verify the card with their biometric machines and all that to know if the card is actually from the Internal Revenue Board of the state. And all these have been able to curb the whole excesses of the street boys taking advantage of all these, you know, Owoda. You just see all these things, and you come to Lagos and tell an investor coming to Lagos that Lagos is a refined city, he should come and invest in Lagos. How do you expect a man who is saying to do that?
But one of the major grounds of JDWAN is that even the state government is not ready to meet with them to, you know, come to a round table and discuss way forward. Where do you see all of this going?
Bola, you see, this period is a period where I think the association is just trying to take advantage of the fact that this period is a period where government, of course, wants to yield to every demand and cries from the people. Otherwise, I don't see it. I don't see it being productive. Why? Because some of these,
you don't see what's been productive.
This the strike. I don't see it being productive because over time they have done some of all these things and government does not yield to it. Because if you look at the people doing this touting on the streets, most of them are the people who during elections win elections for government as alleged by these same bus drivers and all that. So are you trying to say that we're in an election year, a pre-election year, just few months to election, and you want these boys to leave the streets, and these boys are members of political parties who wins elections for political parties as alleged by the same drivers? So what do you think will become of it? So
you don't see the state government pandering to their demands, especially looking at the fact that they need them for elections?
If you look at that statement vividly, the statement is not even indicting government. The statement is not indicting government. If you look at it, they didn't actually said it was government or it is government.
Yeah,
that
but
is perpetrating.
they are saying that
they are only calling the state governor. They are only calling the state governor to wade into the situation. Right? Of course, they fingered some government agents and agencies in the whole issue, which I think it is not the governor they should be calling. You see, we have over time overlooked some certain quarters and certain areas that we should channel our grievances to. I think right now the State House of Assembly should summon an emergency meeting with the bus drivers, summon an emergency meeting with some of these heads of these different associations and organizations that were fingered in this press statement that led to the strike that we are experiencing today, and call them to a round table and talk. And if they refuse, the State House of Assembly, as a matter of fact, constitutionally has the power. I don't know why Nigerians, we don't look at where we should use our powers. We are using our powers where we should not use them. They have the power constitutionally to call all these people involved to the Hallowed Chamber and take a decision at the Hallowed Chamber as a matter of urgent public importance, and send same in copies to the state governor who and the government agencies who will enforce the decision as ratified and passed at the Hallowed Chamber.
Okay, you sound like a member of the House of Representatives. Well, thank you so much for bringing us up to speed on the issue on the streets of Lagos. Agbojekura.
It's been nice.
Thank you very much.
Enjoy the rest of your day. All right, we'll take a break now. When we'll come back, the conversation continues. It is still iBrand Day Break. We'll be right back.